We're often asked what are some of the simplest things that we could do to stay safe, to be smart online and avoid a lot of these complications. And sometimes it's the simplest things that we are doing at home in a family environment that can really cause things to unravel. And we don't recognize those things. So I'm going to share a personal story of something that happened in my own family life. And it's something that I share when we present in schools to students, and they tend to listen. They really tend to lean forward for one reason specifically, because it relates to something that happened to my son when he was in school. And I also tend to get the attention of the teachers and parents as well, because for the adults who listen to this story, it's the behaviour of their children that impacted us. And it could be potentially the behaviour of your children that impact what happens to you afterwards. So in this particular scenario, there was an app that was trending through a secondary school community, and all of the students were aware of this particular app. And I don't mind naming it because it no longer exists. It was called Saraha. And Saraha was an app that was created in Saudi Arabia. And it was an app that was created specifically for their business community, which was had its own unique culture. In that particular culture in Saudi Arabia, it was not common for people who worked at the bottom of an organization to have the opportunity to communicate with people who sat up at the top of an organization. And the purpose of the app was to allow those people at the bottom to give constructive criticism anonymously for the people at the top to see and hear and respond to. It's not the Saudi Arabian internet, it's the World Wide Web. So when you introduce an app that allows for anonymous criticism of others to be delivered within a community, um, it might work well for the Saudi Arabian business community, but it might not work well for countless other communities. So this was introduced here in Mackay in one of my son's school communities, and the students were taken to it. They were beginning to use it. I identified it on a school device at home, and I asked my son what it was there for. I always tended to pick up on something new. When something new was on their device, we were always on the lookout for that. And his response to me was, "Look, Dad, it's new. A lot of us are using it. I haven't really picked up on it yet, but that's it. There it is." I did some research on it, and within 2 to 3 minutes, I realised that the system that he went through, the process to just tick that box and say, "I accept all the terms and conditions," had some repercussions for us that he wasn't aware of. So, and none of us check these terms and conditions. None of us do. Let's be fair. But the two conditions that impacted us, I say us, I mean my child's extended family and his immediate family, was that by accepting the terms and conditions, he was giving permission to the business, the organization that owned that app, to access all of the contacts that were contained on that device, and he was giving them permission to sell them. He didn't know that. What they were going to do with our contact details, so that's emails and mobile phone numbers and names, etc., dates of birth. What they were going to do with that, who knows? Who were they selling them to? No idea. But he gave permission for that to happen. And the second thing that he did give permission to when he just ticked yes was he was giving them permission to access the entire browser history of that device from that point onwards. And he was giving them permission to sell the details and contents of that browser history as well. So he didn't make that decision with that knowledge. He just ticked the box. But it was a learning opportunity for us as parents and as law enforcement officers going into schools, sharing this type of information with students and parents, that we should be having discussions with our young ones about what we need to do before we download programs, apps, etc. onto our devices. There should be a discussion between child and parent, and there should be some understanding from the parents of what can we do. what can we check? Where can we go to identify a potential negative here? Because there's no doubt that in a lot of these platforms that are being introduced, there are negatives.